The Gemara tells us in a number of locations that if not for God's intervention, the evil inclination could hoodwink us to a point where you can't contend with him. He can outpace us. He can run circles around us, convincing us beyond convincing why his approach is a correct approach. A person observes dietary laws. He understands he can't tell that person eat not kosher. He's not convinced that person eat not kosher. Because since the person has committed dietary laws, so how does he get him somehow to compromise on his standard of dietary laws? Something will present itself, and he hasn't eaten in a while, and it has some level of certification. But the question is it reliable certification? Is it really reliable? And we all have conflicts of interest. And he convinces himself, well, seemingly, since it does have some identifying certification, it probably is okay. But it may not be okay. But he gets you to be convinced that it is okay. And you eat of it. And you're with it for a while, then you realize it wasn't really reliable. But meantime, you already crossed that line for an extended period of time. Once you've done that, now you're back to your standard of kashrus, of dietary laws. Now again, you find yourself in that bind. And you can't even find a product that has any label on it. She said, you know something? In the past, when I was hungry, I relied on a certain, which wasn't okay. And I did the wrong thing, but I did it because I had no choice. This time, although it doesn't have a certification, he eats the food without it because it's probably okay. Then he finds out it wasn't okay. And he takes you down that slippery slope. It may take 5 years, 10 years, a lifetime. But ultimately, he can take you to the edge of that cliff and push you off. Telling you that this is an Olympic swimming pool with a diving board, where the depth of the pool is 90 feet deep. And although you don't know how to swim, he's going to catch you at the bottom. He's not going to pull you out with a net. He'll catch you before you hit the water, okay? So we speak about Chesed is innate to every Jew. Acts of Chesed, we want to do Chesed. But you realize, so how does he stop a Jew from doing something which is natural to him? It's something we sense we want to do, and we don't need anybody to encourage us to do Chesed, because it's literally in our emotion, and our blood. So what does he do? Fellow Jew comes to ask for a loan. He says, of course, it's a mitzvah. But you realize, who said he's a qualified borrower? Who said he's going to repay? And realize the Chavetz Chaim himself says that if a man borrows and he's not able to pay back, he has no right to borrow. So maybe he's one of those borrowers. You're not even permitted to lend that man, because actually you're putting your money in jeopardy. God gave you money, you have to preserve it. So you say, take collateral. Take collateral. And the Torah says you're permitted to take collateral to guarantee that you have where to collect from. You offer a collateral, which unfortunately you're going to be busy taking care of his collateral. The man's a poor man. Every day he gives me his day garment and his night garment. I'm going to be busy with this man forever. You know something? I'm going to do the mitzvah. I'm going to find myself another borrower, a less complicated borrower. Yeah. And the person says, I'll lend. Despite I'll lend. And what happens? The man doesn't pay. And he holds you up. And you have to chase the man for your money. At the end of the day, you finally get your money. You've created an arch enemy. The so-called borrower that you did a favor to. You know something? I learned my lesson. I don't lend finished. He'll leave such a bitter taste in your mouth. You're going to have such a negative experience. The truth is, I really want to learn. I want to do the mitzvah. But unfortunately, the people out there, they don't allow me to do the mitzvah. Understand? It's like a person says, I'd love to eat steak, but you know something? My new dentures hadn't come in yet. I can't chew it. And to eat steak that's pureed, something that's not eating steak. Therefore, same thing. I wish I could find that special borrower. Unfortunately, it's not a reality. And I have enough enemies. I have enough people talking behind my back. How I turn the screws on them, how I put them in the vibes to get the money, which is rightfully the lenders. So I don't need it. Don't need it. I've learned my lesson. And every level of chesed, you're able to somehow, he'll deliver you and create a scenario that almost you regret you did it. I'll give you an example. Remember many years ago, the law is that a wife is not permitted to give of a husband's money to charity unless it's clear that the husband is agreeable to, because she's giving away her husband's money. So if it's something very nominal, we could say with certainty the husband wouldn't mind. But something which is substantial, the only way she's permitted, she has to consult with him. Is it okay? So I remember there was a story many years ago in Baltimore. This wife, her husband comes home, and she says, I wrote a check today for $800 for charity. This is what happened. Person to come from Israel, and he showed me doctor bills, and he has a relative in the hospital, and this and that. This person sold his wife a bill of goods. So he said to her, firstly, you should have called me on the phone in my office just to tell me you're writing such a check. Secondly, you don't write a check till you're able to check out his credentials. Are the bills, are they really authentic bills? Maybe they're contrived bills. Maybe the bill's been paid 25 times over already. And he's prayed. It turned out the man was a charlatan. He was a charlatan. They canceled the check. They stopped the check. So he says to himself, you see, you have all kinds of people walking through your door. You want to give something nominal? Okay. So you make some, you lose some. Okay, but to give something substantial, definitely not. You don't give that kind of charity unless you do due diligence on that person, which is correct, which is responsible. But sometimes people are always 3-time losers, 5-time losers. After everything's said and done, somehow you always find out you were duped. So what does that person do after a while? I mean, how many times could you be misled? Person says, something? Unless it's beyond any doubt, it's a authentic cause, I don't support it. But how many people are going to fall through the cracks because of your negative experiences? So I'm saying, the evil inclination has his way. He can take something which is the ultimate privilege and opportunity, and he can turn it sour, that you don't want to go near it. You look at it as something, it's like you traumatize. When you think about all the incidences, all the experience you had being involved in doing chesed. The Chofetz Chaim is going to explain why. We always try to be melamed zchus, to see people that give them the benefit of the doubt why they don't do things they should do. They don't realize its importance. They've had their experiences. You don't want to be busy with collateral, everything under the sun. Okay? Now, he speaks about something very interesting. If a man is truly poor, you have an obligation to help him. If you could help him, if you could afford to help him. Now, the man says, something, I don't want to take charity. I prefer to take a loan. So the man says to the poor man, but how do I know you could repay? He says, I'll give you collateral. First, I don't want to be busy with collateral. The lender. So Chofetz Chaim says, if this man is eligible for charity and he doesn't want to take charity, he wants to take a loan. So worst to worst, even if you lose the money, it's no worse than giving him charity because you're obligated to give him charity. Don't take collateral. But how I know I'm going to get paid back? Something. You should really give this man charity. For the man, for self-dignity, he doesn't want to take charity. So you say to him, worse to worse, if he doesn't pay back, it's charity, because you're obligated to give him charity in either case. But again, we don't see it that way. If I'm lending him, I expect to get paid back. Why? Because it's a loan. But in truth, yeah, you should have given him charity. He doesn't want to take charity. But again, as a result of that, you're convinced, I'm not giving. So why about if he's a person, he's not qualified to take charity. But he needs a loan. He needs help. And again, you go through the scenario in your mind. I've had enough of the past. I need six guarantors. I had a case. I'll tell you the story. There was a certain person I'm not going to mention it, from a certain community. And the community is a very wealthy community. It's a Brooklyn community. And this person, he had once studied in the Riverdale Yeshiva, first class person. He has children, and he has a number of children which are handicapped. One son is autistic, and he has great expenses because his son needs special education. Maybe another child needs something. And he's a person, he holds down 3 jobs just to cover his expenses. He had gone to a store here in Brooklyn to shop for Shabbos. He didn't have money to buy challah. Could you imagine? The man is doing tutoring. He's teaching. He's an upright person, a good person. And the Riverdale Yeshiva has a gemach, a free loan society. And my son oversees the gemach, one of my sons. And there was a certain guarantor on the loan. You borrow with a guarantor. And this person couldn't pay. So they cashed in the check of the guarantor. The guarantor, I know him very well. He's even a Talmud of mine from many years ago. He's a Syrian Jew from the Syrian community, comes from a very wealthy family. He himself is very substantial. And he called in the loan. He called in and he was upset that this person couldn't pay the loan and they cashed his check. We're not talking about mega dollars. Okay? So when I heard that the person couldn't afford to buy challah at the store and buy the basics for his family, and the man keeps 3 jobs. He teaches them or teaches them, they have no tutors at night. And he still has problem making ends meet. And I heard this person is upset that his check was cashed because he was a guarantor. I said to my son, I said, for the next 3 months, I'll give you money. He's guaranteed every Shabbos he can spend $300 at the supermarket to buy challah, and whatever he needs for Shabbos, he'll have for Shabbos. Okay? So do you think I stopped at that? I picked up the phone and called the guarantor, which I know him very well. I said, you were a guarantor for this person's loan and this and that. I heard my son oversees the free loan, and I heard you were upset that this person couldn't pay the loan and they cashed in your check because you were the guarantor. So I said, this person is a member of your community. He's not an Ashkenazi Jew, this person who borrowed the money. He's from your community. I covered 3 months to cover his supermarket bill that he could shop up to $300 every Shabbos. I said, what are you people doing for your own community? Not only don't you help him, you're upset that he couldn't pay the loan because he didn't have the ability to pay the loan. And the man can't afford money to buy challah for Shabbos. I said, where are you people coming from? Are you people out to lunch? I was really upset with this person. I said, something? You should get together with your buddies, put together enough money to cover him for a year. That every Shabbos he's guaranteed, he doesn't have to worry about, he's not going to have money to buy challah for Shabbos. Okay? That's what I said to him. And he saw I was upset. He says, Rabbi, I'll take care of it. This. I'm not sure if he ever took care of it. Not sure. People have short memories. You get distracted, you forget about it. But you understand, I'm a guarantor. If I'm a guarantor, I expect you to pay. And the man wanted to pay, just couldn't afford to pay. Could you fault a man he can't afford to pay? Hashem gives you opportunities that if you're sensitive to this man, that he shouldn't be ashamed. He goes to the store and he doesn't have credit any longer, and he can't buy food for Shabbos. First of all, how does he feel that he can't provide for his family? How does he feel that the store says we can't sell you anymore because your credit line's been overdrawn? So put yourself in his shoes. People don't. They don't. But you want to know something? If you go and you feel the other guy's pain and the other guy's lack, and you come across and help him, you want to score points. This is the way you score points. Not that you're doing it to score points, but that's the way a Jew's supposed to behave. That's where it begins. That's where it ends.